everyone, I'm back with a new video, and today we're going to be learning how to do a round-off back handspring. Just a reminder, before you get started, make sure your hair's up, make sure that you have stretched and warmed up, and if you don't have your handspring confidently, make sure you have a spot. The first thing we're going to be doing as for warming up is we're going to be doing round-off rebounds. One thing to remember when you're doing your round-off rebounds is make sure that you're bouncing off the balls of your foot rather than flat-footed or on your toes, because that'll give you the most power. Now, since we've stretched and we've warmed up our round-off rebounds, we're going to be moving into handsprings. It's pretty simple to warm up for a round-off back handspring. One thing to remember is that if you don't have your standing handspring, you probably won't be able to get this very easily. Typically, you get your standing back handspring before you get your round-off back handspring, so just keep that in mind. If you have your standing handspring, you can move on. If not, you might want to grab a spot. Who knows what they're doing. So as for the round-off back handspring, it's a little different than the standing handspring. Obviously, you still do all the same body motions, like you have to reach back when you're going instead of jumping straight up, and then you need to snap your legs in when you land. But one thing that's different is you don't swing. When you go with your round-off, as for the rebound, you're going to be stretching backwards instead of jumping up, and you're just going to look for the ground. Also, make sure that your head stays in line with your ears, just like in a standing back handspring. Otherwise, you'll be throwing your head back, and that'll probably cause you to undercut. So here's an example of what a round-off back handspring should look like. Mine is not very pretty right now. I just came off of a knee injury, and I'm sort of still working on it. It's pretty ugly, but I'm working on it. A few mistakes that I made as I did that: I kept my chest down, which is a huge factor for power, especially if you want to go for more than one, because when you keep your chest down, it sort of wastes your power and it causes you to throw your head back in the second one. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, is always keeping your chest up, and that goes along with snapping your legs as well. When you snap your legs, your chest should automatically come up. I've always had that problem. When you're doing a round-off back handspring, what you want to do is your power comes from your round-off. So if you don't have a good round-off, you should probably start with working on that. When you do your round-off, you should run or power hurdle, and then you're going to hurdle. Instead of hurdling up, which I used to do, you're going to hurdle forward, as if you're sort of diving into the ground, sort of like a back handspring, how you dive backwards, but you're diving forwards. You're going to dive forwards, and what you want to do is you want to snap your legs together at the top and snap them down as hard as you can, almost under you, but not too far under you, just so you get enough power to be able to reach back. Another thing that you don't want to do in your round-off is you don't want to twist before going, which is something that looks like because that'll put a lot of power into your round-off, and it'll just make it a lot less powerful when it comes to the handspring. Also, you can mess up your arms that way. I know somebody who has done that before. It's just not very safe, and it's not the proper way to do a round-off, especially when you're tumbling out of it. So coming out of your round-off, you're going to be typically sitting, and you're just going to stretch back with your head and your hands in line, looking for the ground. Also, when you're tumbling, this is something that I wasn't taught, but you might have been taught. Always keep your eyes open, because you might not see where you're going, and a lot of injuries have actually ironically happened from that. So right now we're focusing on snapping our legs together at the top of our round-off, snapping them inward, almost under us, and stretching backward. So once you've got the powerful round-off and the stretching part down in your handspring, what you're going to do after that, after the hips comes legs. And so once your hands hit the floor, your legs want to almost replace your hands. That's what I've always been taught, is to have your legs snap into where your hands were, because then you'll have more power to do another handspring if you want to, or you'll have a very powerful rebound, which will also help in your tuck. So we're going to do a powerful round-off, and then we're going to snap our legs under us, reach back, look back, eyes open, and then snap legs in where your hands were. So that's about all you really need to know for when it comes to round-off back handsprings. As long as you have your standing back handspring, it shouldn't really come that hard. It's pretty simple once you have your standing back handspring, because the standing back handspring is obviously less powerful and a bit harder since you don't have as much power, obviously. Just keeping in mind, when you These steps are very helpful and they do help you in the long run with getting your back handspring because it also moves on to more tumbling. But as for a bad back handspring, it's harder to get more power out of it, such as something like this. Notice how I landed with my chest down. My legs are all sorts of apart. My roundoff wasn't very powerful. It all just went along with all the bad habits that you can create from getting a bad roundoff back handspring. Now, this is what your handspring should look like opposed to the one I just did. Alright, so hope you guys get your back handsprings. Good luck on that. And remember to subscribe and follow me on all of my social media sites, which will be in the down bar. Thanks, bye.